Right. What are we doing? Oh yeah, septic, shock, road. Oh, pretending there.
Oh yeah. Get out of the road, you hippie. Is that what we?
Yeah, there we go. Your Pennsylvania hippie. Yes. So here we are in Pennsylvania. Have you ever been to Pennsylvania, Ron?
No.
Right. Neither have I.
No.
Brilliant segment. I think we'll do that. So yes. So
What's that? It's Pittsburgh. What else is in Pennsylvania? Pittsburgh and
well, Braddock, I know because it's in one of these
Braddock.
films.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay. No.
yeah, so we're in. Well, don't worry, Ron. Don't you worry your pretty little head.
There's lots of vampires there, right?
In Pittsburgh?
No, in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania?
Isn't that?
I see. You're doing a hilarious Vania joke here. All right, sorry, it took me a while. Good one. Yeah, don't worry your pretty little head, Ron. You'll get to know Pittsburgh quite well because we're going to be here for the next 3 editions of Septic.
Woohoo!
3 Pittsburgh double bills, and of course you can't do this kind of thing about Pittsburgh without talking George A. Romero, right? I mean,
right.
It's just no way around it. But I thought we would avoid talking about the obvious ones, so we didn't go for Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead, as great as those films are. So we're talking a couple of slightly lesser known, although known to horror fanatics, I guess. Romero joints, also shot in Pittsburgh. We're doing the Crazies and Martin. Both films you had not seen before, is that right, Ron?
No, but I believe both were on like a I'd like to see list.
Right. Well, especially Martin, I think, which we'll get to actually.
Martin was definitely on a list that I had made that I was like, oh, I definitely want to see that one day. So
because it is considered one, and considered by myself as well to be one of the best George A. Romero films, I think. But we'll start with the Crazies from 1972. So this is after Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero directed a kind of drama called There's Always Vanilla, which is a film I've not seen actually. And he did another kind of horror inflected film called Season of the Witch, which is kind of interesting. And then I suppose the Crazies is a bit more of a those two are much less commercially less commercial ventures. I suppose this is him trying to get back into making something that would have been reasonably commercial. For Lee Hessel's Cambist distributed the Crazies, and this is basically a story of a bioweapon, a military bioweapon that gets accidentally unleashed on a rural community in Pittsburgh, and it makes the locals go mad, basically, right? They kind of lose their minds and also become homicidal and unpredictable and dangerous. So then the military are brought in to they put up a military perimeter, try and stop people from escaping, a media blackout, and on all that. And the residents kind of fight back, I suppose, against this what they perceive as a kind of oppression, I guess, or suppression as well, because we don't know. It seems as if the military are very much trying to put a cap on it, right? There's talk about even nuking the place maybe before it spreads. So it's one of those movies, and was remade as well, if you remember. I don't know if you saw the Crazies remake. There was a remake in.
Kind of familiar that I thought maybe, yeah, okay, but I don't.
Timothy Oliphant was in it. That's who I remember.
Okay. Right.
Timothy Oliphant packed his trunk and said goodbye to the jungle. So what did you make of the CRAZIES run?
Um, I think I was in a bad mood this week.
You were, because I made you watch some films, which
Yeah, it could have
also
been that. I'm not sure if I was in a bad mood and it just made me not enjoy movies this week, or if the movies I had to watch this week made me in a bad mood. I'm not sure which one. Was it the chicken or the egg? I'm not sure which one came first, but yeah, I mean, there's a reason why George Romero is famous for zombie movies and not these movies. I think they're yeah, it just this one specifically was really irritating. I thought
Really?
there was just a lot of people yelling, and there's no like I couldn't figure out like what is actually the virus doing to these people. Sometimes they were zombies, and sometimes they were just like stabbing people with knitting needles, or sometimes they were like really strangely. I don't know. I couldn't figure out and I couldn't figure out what like some of them were like homicidal, but some of them were just like walking around like they've were turned into mental handicaps, or or so I don't know, like they'd been lobotomized or something. So I was like, I didn't understand really what the
It's an unpredictable virus, tricksy, right? For sure, yeah.
yeah, Trixie, yeah, but I don't know. I didn't feel I think it really needed to have more of a like the virus does this, or this is what the danger is, because it was just too like, because I couldn't even tell who was infected half the time, because then the people in the masks started like killing people and stuff, and I was
Right.
like, well, are they infected or are they not? But which I guess maybe was kind of the point, but it
Yes,
just made it
it scarier
muddled.
because you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, coming from, yeah, but I didn't really see what I didn't have it didn't have stakes for me. Like I couldn't figure out where the tension. It didn't. It made it more confusing than visceral. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just found it really like I didn't know what I was supposed to be afraid of or whatever. And then the one guy, it just kept going back and forth between these like people, and then it was people in an office, and there was the government people, and then there was a like a scientist and stuff, and the one guy kept like yelling into the phone. He was like, "Rawr!" He's always just yelling. I was like, what is he yelling about? So, like, I don't know. So I think I was just in a bad mood this week, because I just couldn't find any, like it was I just like I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be watching or where I was going with it. So
I suppose in a way you could argue that it's had the right impression, because I think it is supposed to be
I guess
frustrating and annoying, right? Because yeah, like you
yeah.
said, that character, because the thing is they have to keep getting their voice print confirmed so they can talk to each
Yeah, yeah, that whole
every
thing,
time
like,
they put the phone down, and then you have to go
yeah,
through the whole rigmarole again, and it's
yeah,
like time's a wasting, and
yeah, and I get that, but there was so much time spent on him getting on red tape and having to do it through this voice print, and
bureaucracy.
so little time actually showing the violence or the gore or the like the people being crazy. And I remember that was what when I was watching, I was like, well, let's just get to the stuff, the action or the stuff that's going on, right? Rather than just these people looking into microphones and saying, "Oh, there's voice print." And I was like, well, like
Microscope.
I get the red tape is an important element, but I wanted more of the actual virus itself, I think.
Yeah, I suppose it depends what you, because I think as well, a lot of people probably went into this film maybe expecting something like a zombie film, like an outbreak film, or but
Right.
it is more about the bureaucracy and the craziness than it is the um
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's
I
interesting.
think that was what was frustrating for me. I think I wanted, it doesn't have to be zombies, but I wanted at least an outbreak movie. You know what I mean? I wanted to
Right.
see, and they did have elements of that, but it was so much time spent on the red tape and the bureaucracy and the the scientific research for the cure and stuff like that, and the politicians talking about it, and the inaction stuff, that I was like, yes, I get that this was supposed to be help you be frustrated, whatever, but I think it's not what I wanted from the movie. You know, it's in a movie called The Crazies by George Romero. You want just gore and something happening. You know, there's more. I wanted
Yeah, there's
more.
not much gore. It's not supposed to, I don't think it's not a gore film. There's very much little.
Yeah.
It's only just blood squibs. It's interesting as well. You were talking about does that person have it, or does it? It's interesting. It resonates with you, I think, post COVID, right? Because there are a lot of that, you know, where people are like, well, because there were some people who were asymptomatic, and then do you have it? And then, oh, should I quarantine from you? But then you're with someone who has it, but someone else is perfectly fine, and that kind of spoke to me now.
Yeah, definitely watching it in the post-COVID landscape, but I didn't really. I thought it was going to be like, oh, this is an outbreak movie, George Romero. It's going to have, you know, it's really going to connect with us, you know, that we are, you know, kind of sort of post outbreak ourselves. But yeah, I didn't find much to latch onto in terms of the similarities. It was just sort of like a, you know, so it didn't.
It is too long. It's
too long, and it kept going back and forth between these three or four storylines, and I was like, I don't really care about this. I don't care about that. It was like, just let's get on with it. You know, let's get to the end of it. So, you know, and like the one girl at the end, she kind of gets infected, but she just turns into like she acts like a little girl or something. You know, like, oh hi, like, and I was like, so what is the danger? You know, that doesn't make me like, they're all like, oh, get back, but like, what are they afraid of? She's just acting like a child, you know. So it didn't have, the stakes weren't there for me. Like, I didn't feel like she was going to be a danger to anyone, you know. So
yeah, I mean, I suppose that I always thought of that as a bit more of like, so the biggest threat in this film is stupidity and people,
I guess,
not listening to each other, and you know, like it's a little bit on the nose, but there's like a scene where one character has kind of found the cure and never gets a chance to show it because he just gets
the scientist guy, he says, I've got the cure, and then they push him into the room with a bunch of the infected, and then so
it's a little. No, I agree with you. This is not one of George Romero's best films at all. I mean, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than you, but watching it this time, yeah, it did strike me how, oh yeah, okay, this hasn't necessarily dated. And to your point, there's probably a reason why this isn't as well remembered as Night of the Living Dead, for example. But it's kind of like, it could be shorter, and some of the, I mean, the acting is a bit all over the place. Like, some people are quite good, other people are less good. Kind of interesting that Lynn Lowry is in this, and I Drink Your Blood, and Shivers, right? She was Miss kind of crazy outbreak contagion.
Right.
Always glad to see Lynn Lowry though, because she is super cute. But it's funny that she's in all these films, right? Kind of around the same time,
right?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, the remake as well. I think the remake, it's one of those few examples where it was a remake quite well chosen. Like, I haven't seen it since it was new, but I seem to remember the Crazies remake being quite good, because it's like a good choice for a remake, right? Like, they chose something that's imperfect in the first place, and they did it as more of a. I think you might enjoy the remake because they did the.
As I was saying, I would like to see the remake now that you mentioned it, because I feel like they've probably tightened the screws a little bit to make it a little bit better for me. You know, I mean,
they've done it like
this was obviously like an early movie for George Romero that maybe he was still trying to figure out what he's doing and how to do it and stuff. You know, so
it's good. I suppose the comparison would be, and I suppose probably this is somehow how they ended up doing it. So, for instance, they remade Dawn of the Dead, right? And they remade Dawn of the Dead as a more straight ahead kind of thriller, and took out you know, a lot of the social satire and stuff like that. And I actually, when it was new, I haven't gone back to rewatch. I quite enjoyed the Dawn of the Dead remake, but I saw it almost as not an improvement, obviously, because the original, the stuff, the the other stuff, the social satire stuff in the original was so strong that when it was removed, you missed something, right? Whereas I think in the Crazies, because the original stuff isn't necessarily that strong, then a remake benefits from tightening it up. If you see what I mean, I'm not saying better than, but it's the remake is surprisingly. I remember at least being surprised by not disliking it and thinking, "Oh, this is pretty good, right?"
And how can you hate Timothy Olyphant? I mean, like,
Timothy Olyphant said goodbye to the circus, not the jungle. You went to the jungle. You said goodbye to the circus. How could I have made such a terrible mistake? You look as if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I really don't.
Have you never heard the song Nelly the Elephant?
Never.
Really?
Yeah, never. Oh. Is it like a British kid song or something?
Actually, I don't know where it comes from. It's a well-known song about an elephant.
Never heard of it.
Called Nelly, believe it or not.
The only elephant kid songs I know, there was one. It was like, one elephant went out to play upon a spider web one day. He had such enormous fun that he called for another elephant to come.
Now it's my chance to look confused. I don't know that one.
That was from the there was a kids show called The Elephant Show in Canada, so it's a Canadian, specifically a Canadian kid show. So.
Okay. Well, there we go. We both have elephant skeletons in our closet. So, do you have anything else to say about the Crazies before we move on? Ron?
Not much, but I would like to see the remake though, and see if there is any, if it tightened the screws for me. So,
yes, I would imagine you might get on with that a little bit better. I think. Right. So from lesser Romero to well, in my opinion, anyway, maybe Romero at the top of his game. Wait to see what Ron makes of that. And this is 1977's Martin. So yeah, this would have been the film just prior to Dawn of the Dead, right? Stars John Amplas as a young man who arrives in Pittsburgh, suburb of Braddock, to stay with a cousin, as played by Lincoln Mazel, this old dude who seems convinced that Martin is a vampire. He calls him Nosferatu, and he has garlic all around the house and crucifixes and things. And also living with them is another cousin, Christine Forrest, who of course would go on to be Mrs. George A. Romero in real life. And so yeah, John Amplas's Martin is very kind of alienated, shy young man who also seems to be addicted to drinking the blood of others. We see him attacking some people using, he doesn't have fangs, so he kind of uses a syringe to drug them and then slits their veins open and drink with a razor blade and drinks their blood. So he is a serial killer, but I suppose the trick of the movie is whether he's just a deranged kind of young man or whether he's actually a vampire, as his uncle believes. And I think we'll try and avoid the spoilers of talking around the ending, maybe, unless you can't and you feel the need to spoil it. But I'm going to try not to. Yeah, so it's more of a character study than anything else, right? And he becomes a bit of a local celebrity, a sort of phone-in radio show where the host refers to him as the Count, right? Clearly, he doesn't take him too seriously. Yeah, so that's, yeah, it's a character study, I think, of alienation and mental illness, kind of disguised as a vampire film, maybe. That would be one way to think of it. And Tom Savini's in it, who did the effects as well, some stunt work. George A. Romero himself turns up as a priest. And yeah, I saw this film late night TV years ago when I was a kid. Really, really affected me. I thought it was quite especially by the time it rolls round to that ending, which I remember finding quite devastating. I still do. And yeah, this holds up for me. I still think this is, I mean, it's either this or Night of the Living Dead for best Romero film for me. I think this is quite the piece of work. How did you get on with Martin, Ron?
Well, as I said, I think I was just in a bad mood this week.
This didn't
Yeah.
wait for you either.
Yeah, it was this one was mostly just really disappointing for me. I was really like I was really looking forward to this one, and I've been on my list to watch for a long time, and yeah, so I was like, oh great.
You were aware of its reputation then.
Yeah, and I was like, oh great, I'm really looking forward to seeing this finally get a chance to see it, and yeah, and I don't know, I just didn't get on with it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I think this one though, more than the Crazies and anything else we've watched, I think this is more of a rewatch. I have to go back to it and watch it again when I'm in a different headspace, I think, right? So because I think I probably deserves a rewatch, or I'd have to get on with it a little in a different situation. I have to be more kind of prepared for it. Yeah, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be or was hoping it was going to be. So I'm not sure how to really express it verbally in this case, but I just felt quite dissatisfied with it in the end.
How did it differ, do you think, from what you expected it to be?
I'm not really sure, and I don't think I can really express that either. I'm not even sure what I expected, but I was like, I had really, really high hopes for it because, I like Romero, and again, I just was watching it and I was like, and again, I think there's a reason why he's the zombie director and not the vampire director. I just think I assume for a lot of people, this is sort of like a hidden cult classic, and like it's a unfound gem and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it didn't impress me the way I thought it was going to, and I thought it. I think there's a reason why it's an unappreciated gem. I didn't think it was as good as I wanted it to be. That being said, I think I will revisit this again at some point in the future and try again. Because again, maybe I was just in a really bad mood this week.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a small part of it you sense that it might be worth returning to, like you might have more of a takeaway from it going.
Yeah, I think maybe again, I think all of the movies that I watched this week, I had this sort of either I had an expectation that wasn't fulfilled, or I needed to have more of a setup beforehand. So I think what I'm learning in general is that I need to kind of do some research about a film before I start it. I think what I'm learning about myself is I need to know what I'm getting into a little bit, like not to the spoiler territory, but I think I need to kind of be prepared for what I'm going to watch before I watch something.
That's interesting, because that's kind of the opposite of my approach in a way. Like the less I know about a film, the more I like.
Well, that's the way I usually approach it, but definitely this week, I feel like every movie I've seen this week, I would have been more open to had I been more set up for what I was about to watch. You know what I mean? So anyway, moving forward, because I don't want to go into spoiler territory. I don't want to but I feel like I think I need to just dip my toe into at least a little bit of what I'm going to see before I see it. So I'm going to try that moving forward, see if it changes anything, right? But yeah, no, I just felt really disappointed. I was really looking forward to it, and I just didn't really do anything for me, So I thought it was properly sort of grotty and gritty and stuff like that, but it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't have the you referred to the ending as a sort of a gut punch. I didn't really get that from the ending.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah, no, it just seemed like, things might be turning around, and then
to be completely honest, I don't even remember what happened at the
okay, well, I'm not going to mention it.
yeah, so I didn't, it didn't really get me. So yeah,
Although I'm
it was so like I was so kind of checked out, I guess, by the end that it didn't even didn't register that much with me. So
yeah, no, it certainly seems as if it should be. I mean, I know we always have differing opinions, but this seems like one. I think I'm kind of surprised to hear that. I think maybe, yes, you maybe should watch this again, because I think you would be depriving yourself of something that I think you might enjoy if you get into it. I think this is something you would kind of.
And I was surprised that I didn't like it, because I was sure I was going to like this movie, because based on its reputation and my and set up for it, and and I like Romero and stuff like that. So, but I don't know. I just when I was done, I was just like, meh. I just didn't really didn't do it for me. So I don't know. I will try again, and maybe I'll do an update in the future if I ever watch it again.
What did you make of John Amplas as Martin? Because I think he's very.
He was fine. He was pretty good. I think. It's he was properly sort of innocent yet
There's
not.
something a bit John Lydon.
Okay, yeah.
Isn't there a little bit? There's some that not quite a scowl, but he's got some kind of
Fuzziness.
Yeah, he's really interesting in this. Like, there's always something going on in his head. He conveys quite a lot without saying anything, right? Like he doesn't say anything for long stretches of the film. I also reminded of I reminded me. I always thought of. I mean, he's a bit. I don't know how much breadth he has, but if he sticks to a certain type of person, Tom Savini is quite a good actor.
I like Tom Savini. I think he's always pretty good. I always like Tom Savini, no matter what he does, acting or.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, we owe him a great debt
so.
in the world of effects, right? He's a real pioneer, right? But I always surprised. He's like, oh yeah, like he doesn't like. Sometimes when you have people who are famous for other things making little screen cameos, you can kind of tell why they stayed behind the scenes, right? But Tom Savini is always he's quite natural in front of the camera, right?
I think he's a. I always like Tom Savini. I always sit up a little taller when Tom Savini comes on the screen, so whenever he does anything. So
yeah, he's quite funny as well when you ever see him interviewed about anything, right? He's a very kind of charming, likable personality. So
what would you say you like about this movie? Like, can you express it like in words? Like, what do you think works with this movie?
Well, I mean, I mean, for a start, it's incredibly atmospheric, right? Like, it's a film you can almost smell its kind of surroundings, right? Like it really gives you a fantastic sense of place. That's one thing. And then I suppose I quite like how it's a film that kind of hijacks the whole vampire thing to tell a very different story. Like, it's very like it feels very thought through. Like, it doesn't just seem like someone who's thought, oh, how could we tell a modern vampire story in a cool way? It seems like it was a very organic process to come up with this idea, because there are a lot of things that try and either update vampire mythos or to use it as a metaphor for something else. Like a good example would be The Addiction, right? The Abel Ferrara movie, where it serves as it's a drug metaphor or something like that. So I like the fact that it just feels like it's something that it seems like it's appeared fully formed. Like, it's an idea that, because even though there are a lot of other films that try and, like I said, try and use the vampire thing I can't think of any other film that really works as well as Martin. Like, I don't even really think of it as a vampire film, really. they just kind of use those tropes and stuff and the black and white flashbacks to kind of make a point, I suppose, between our romanticized gothic idea of a vampire and like, well, what if you really did feel the urge to go out and drink blood, and the complications that ensue, right? Like he's such an innocent, like when he breaks into that woman's house when her husband is away, he's like, he can't believe there's another man there, right? That she's having an affair. He's like,
Yeah,
you're not
that's
supposed to be here. You're not supposed to, like, he can't quite get it through his head, right?
that's one thing that was going through my head when I was watching. It was like, for someone who's supposed to be 84 years old and ostensibly has been doing this for most of his life, he's pretty terrible at it.
Well,
like every time he breaks in, he fucks it up. Like he's always like,
well, that's just
you think if that was something that you've done over and over and over again, you'd be better at it. You know what I mean? So
well, yeah, but that I think that's only a problem if you think it's in any way ambiguous that he is actually. I mean, for me, he's clearly not a vampire. He's never. I don't think. For me, at least, maybe some viewers would. I don't think the film is trying to make you think he might be. Like, he clearly is just a very mentally ill young man, right? So I don't think there's any, which is again why the ending comes as such a gut punch, right? Because it just seems so, like, you realize, he's not. I mean, that's why you're sympathetic with him in a way, because he has killed several people and he does these kind of terrifying home invasions. But at the end of the day, he's like, he's not the only monster out there, right? There's someone else even more dangerous than him because of their misheld beliefs, or, you know. So like I said, I think there's a lot going on in this movie, but it seems like it just fully, like I said, it's organic, came out fully formed. It doesn't feel like it's been labored over, like, to be a message or anything. It seems it's like, yeah, it's working class art, right? It's the real thing, I think, from the streets of Braddock, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. No, it's too bad because I'm a Romero fan. I mean, at least of the stuff I've seen, right? So, and I was really looking forward to actually this episode, but I was just overall just sort of disappointed in what I saw this week.
So in case anyone is interested, you can find this on not Martin, but you can find on YouTube. It's only recently been put up there. So there was a alternative edit for the Italian market, in much the way that Dario Argento did an alternative Italian version of Dawn of the Dead, which was shorter and with a goblin score. He prepared an Italian version of this film, which is only 82 minutes long. It's called Vampyr, Wampyr, and someone's kindly put it up on YouTube. It's not the greatest quality, but it's watchable, and they've even put English subtitles on there as well, so you can follow. If you haven't seen the original for a while, you can just, watch it. What's interesting is they've re-edited it, most notably. So it's missing about 20 minutes, obviously, if not more. But also, it starts with him just arriving in Pittsburgh with his uncle, and the opening murder on a sleeper train plays later on. So they've kind of totally changed the order, and and in the new version as well, obviously it doesn't make any sense, because at the beginning of the film he's arriving in Pittsburgh from wherever, Indianapolis, I think. But in the Italian version, he suddenly gets on a sleeper train out of Pittsburgh. I think they say he goes to Philadelphia or something, and then I guess he just comes back. So he just goes, like, on a trip to kill someone or something. So even when he gets on the train, there's like the conductor goes, hey Martin, he knows who he is. But, and of course it has the goblin kind of prog funky disco electronic score, makes a total difference, right? Like it's centered to the whole. It makes it a very different kind of watch. Not a good a film as Martin, but kind of, if you like Martin anyway, I would recommend having a look at the Italian read. It's just an interesting way to see the film in a different context, and the soundtrack's pretty cool. So yeah, yes, Martin hasn't been remade, but it's one of those films I always suspect it's probably come quite close to. It's one of those things I can imagine if people have thought about remaking it, right?
Right.
And you could, I mean, it would work, I think. You could remake it in the same way as you could remake the CRAZIES, or they did remake the CRAZIES. Yeah, that's about it for Martin. I mean, I genuinely think it's a classic, and I think Ron should watch it again one day.
Yeah, I think this one I will come back to eventually. I think the CRAZIES, I think I don't really need to, but
no. I understand you're not getting on the CRAZIES. Martin, I think, is a different matter.
Yeah.
Also worth mentioning. So apparently, when this film first, it was never released, but the original cut of this film was 165 minutes long.
Yeah.
And in recent months or past couple of years or something, apparently they found it as well. They found some kind of work print of it or somewhere, and there's been rumors of it getting a release or not getting a release. A couple of people have seen it, and they've said that apparently it doesn't make a whole lot of, like, it's not any better in its longer or anything like that. So, but I would like to see it. I don't know if it's ever coming out, but yeah, but yeah, it doesn't feel as if it's missing anything. I think it works as it. Right. Okay. So we're going to stay here. Me and Ron are going to look around for a hotel, a motel.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we're here for a little while longer.
Where are we in Braddock?
Yeah, I suppose that's where we are.
Yeah.
And I've put crosses on the walls and garlic, so Ron's not allowed in my room.
Right.
Because the last time that was.
I'll just come in wearing like a white, like, hazmat suit.
Right. And I'll stab you with a knitting needle. Okie doke then. Yeah, until next time, this has been Septic Shock Road Trip. Happy trails.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Shame. Little girl, can't you see that you're making me blue? You're the only one that knew what I had to say. You left me cold with nowhere else to stay. So come, little girl, come see what I have done. You're the only one who'll have to be on the run. So shame, little girl, is the game that you play. Should I care to see you again? I'll see you today. I haven't missed you once since you've been away. Now I won the game and you have got the loss. You've wasted time and it will be at your cost.